Frei on LBC.
Right, we're going to spend the last 11 minutes of quality time with Simon Marks in Washington. Good morning, Simon.
Good morning to you, Matt. How are you?
As I said at the beginning of the show, the Republicans under Trump like to flood the zone with time with Simon Marks in Washington. Good morning, Simon.
Good morning to you, Matt. How are you?
As I said at the beginning of the show, the Republicans under Trump like to flood the zone with unmentionables. And there's so much stuff to talk about. It is very difficult to know where to start. But why don't we start with Elon Musk and China?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think you're making the most important point there right at the start. Day by day, hour by hour, brick by brick, the Trump administration is dismantling American democracy, and it is incredibly difficult to keep up with everything that is taking place here. Yesterday, Elon Musk was welcomed to the Pentagon by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, the man who, of course, until recently was a Fox News weekend presenter and suddenly finds himself
not sure if I like the emphasis on weekend there, by the just saying.
Always put the emphasis on the weekend. Not, of course, that there's anything the matter with being a weekend presenter.
Yeah. The penny is dropped. Okay, sorry. I digress. Carry on.
But is now inexplicably in charge of more than 2 million people in uniform. He does have military experience of his own, but fairly low-level military experience of his own. So he threw the doors of the Pentagon open to Elon Musk, of course, Donald Trump's de facto prime minister, the head of the so-called Department of Government Efficiency, so-called because it's not really a government department. And the night before he went to the Pentagon, various news organizations here, led by the New York Times, reported that Elon Musk was going to receive a classified briefing about preparations that the Pentagon routinely makes, if necessary, one day to wage war on China. Now, there is uproar about all of this because, first of all, Elon Musk is unelected. Why on earth does he need to be briefed about any classified plans to wage war on any nation anywhere around the world, especially a nation where 37% of Mr. Musk's global sales of Tesla take place on a continuing basis, a nation that has long assisted Tesla. Mr. Musk's largest and most productive factory lies on Chinese soil. So there was uproar about this. The Trump administration now insists there was never a plan to brief Elon Musk about China, that this was all a media creation, that it was a perfectly routine meeting in which Mr. Musk is beginning to dig into waste and fraud at the Pentagon so that they can make appropriate cuts to the size of the agency like he's doing throughout the government. But it is now absolutely clear that after those reports were published, the Pentagon hastily changed the plan for Mr. Musk's meeting, and instead of any kind of access to classified or declassified material, the meeting was downgraded to a straightforward chit-chat with Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense. So it looks like they had a plan, were rumbled by the New York Times and others, and then changed the plan. But it does make you wonder just what Elon Musk has seen in previous meetings at the Pentagon and also in meetings with other government heads of department.
So there was some news out the other day that after Elon Musk's favourite 4-year-old child had sort of wiped his boogers on the Resolute desk in the Oval Office during that famous meeting. That phrase in itself is astonishing, but he did, and he was hissing, demon-like at the president. That the president then had the Resolute desk disinfected by the White House's special disinfectant cleaners, which made some people think that the special relationship between Musk and Trump might be for the birds or on the way out. Is there anything to suggest that these two best buddies are no longer best buddies?
Well, you can read it two ways, because there's no question that there have been moments over the last week where it seemed that Donald Trump was sort of preparing to show Elon Musk the exit. Remember when they had the Tesla models in the driveway of the White House so Donald Trump could buy one? I am not making this up. At one point, a reporter, or possibly a propagandist with one of the polemical news outlets that now has access to the White House, asked how long Elon Musk would be sticking around in government. He asked Mr. Musk the question, and Donald Trump immediately interrupted and said, well, he'll know when it's time to go. You know, he's going to be here for a while, but then he's going to have to go back and run his own businesses. But he's a great American patriot. He'll know when it's time to go. And that almost looked like an indication that Donald Trump was preparing for the end. But since then, he's dug in. And Mr. Musk continues to be completely unrestrained, has total access to whatever he wants, is continuing to fire thousands and thousands of federal government workers, civil servants here, in some cases destroying people's lives in that process, shutting down agencies. We saw his Doge people invade the U.S. Institute of Peace within the last few days and absolutely shut it down. I mean, staff there called the police to try and stop this from taking place.
And what did the police do?
And the Washington Metropolitan Police Department turned turtle and said, no, Doge has got a right to be here and help them get into the building. So I don't think there is any sign that he's going. And I think that any sign that we see that he might be running out the clock with Donald Trump is also partly designed so that the Trump administration can play fast and loose with the courts about exactly what role Elon Musk plays. Because judge after judge, facing questions about the activities of Doge, is trying to understand exactly what authority Elon Musk has and is facing obfuscation from the administration in answering that question.
I want to ask you at the end a bigger question about the dismantling of democracy, the line that you mentioned at the very beginning. But tell me about the revoking of security clearances for Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton and others. What does that mean? How significant is it?
Yeah, I mean, two massive moves last night. The revoking of security clearances for a whole host of former administration officials and people who have just crossed Donald Trump. All of this part of the program of retribution. Not just the entire Biden family, former Vice President Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton, Liz Cheney, you know, the familiar names that have crossed Donald Trump.
But what does it mean? So revoking someone's security clearance?
It means that they don't have access to intelligence briefings, and it means that their purchase in Washington, D.C. in the United States is diminished.
But I guess you could ask, why should they have access to it if they're no longer in power?
Because there's a very, very long tradition here of people that have been in positions of influence being allowed to continue to access intelligence briefings. And so this is overturning part and parcel, traditional, not constitutionally enshrined, America's system of governance. Yeah. I mean, and it is petty retribution that Donald Trump is taking against people perceived to have crossed him.
So, and of those people who have crossed him or are perceived to have crossed him are a number of law firms that have had any access to federal buildings or papers denied them. These are law firms that were involved in cases against Donald Trump, so that's pretty personal. And then, of course, you've got general statements against the judges who are trying to stop what Doge is doing. Tell us about the significance of that.
Well, he's going after the courts. He's already sublimated Congress. It's completely supine. The Republicans up there absolutely supine to him. And the third co-equal branch of government here is the judiciary, and he's trying to completely override it. He said this week that judges who disagreed with him should be impeached. That led to a rebuke, a gentle one, I think it's fair to say, from the Chief Justice of the United States,
John
Roberts.
But a rare one, yeah.
But a rare one. Last night, an executive order saying that any law firms that engage in actions that violate the laws of the United States or engage in misconduct over national security, homeland security, public safety, or election integrity should be facing reprisals. I mean, if you read this executive order, it essentially says any lawyer anywhere that represents the interests of someone who disagrees with actions that Donald Trump has taken or is appealing against the impact of those actions on them, all of those lawyers can be accused of treachery towards the national security of the United States. So this is taking the country down a very dark path where Trump is essentially trying to steamroller the legal process here.
So final question, and a brief answer if you don't mind, but it's a big question. Is he dismantling American democracy as we know it? Are we on the slide path towards an authoritarian rule?
Yeah, well, I think we already are at authoritarian rule. I mean, he rules in an authoritarian manner. He issues executive orders. He's not sent a single bill to Congress. He's not interested in working with Congress. Everything is done by executive fiat. The fact that last Saturday, the deportation of 238 alleged Venezuelans, alleged terrorists to El Salvador took place in defiance, absolutely clear, open defiance of a judge's order, was a clear indication that democracy is dying here and dying rapidly. We still don't know who any of those people that have ended up doing hard labor in an El Salvadorian terrorist detention center, we don't know who they are. They've been denied due process here. They're now being denied due process in El Salvador. There were some reports last night that some of them, who turned out not to be Venezuelans, were being quietly returned to the United States. This is absolutely an authoritarian regime, and the world's got to catch up to it.
And you're helping us to do so. Simon Marks in Washington, thanks for getting up early.